Deuteronomy chapter 1. Deuteronomy chapter 1. Deuteronomy chapter 1. Give everybody a chance to get there. Fifth book in the Bible. Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. If you get to red letters, you've gone too far. If you get to the maps, just go home. Yeah. Deuteronomy. Now I'm going to give you time because we're not going to hurry this. You grew up going to Bible class, right? If you grew up going to Bible class, you heard these stories. You heard God make a promise to Abraham. He told Abraham, said, I'm going to give you a land, a promised land. You're going to become a great nation. Your children, descendants, are going to number like the stars of the heaven, like the sand of the sea. One place he even says the dust of the earth. Then he said, and one of your children, and he just meant one, a seed, an offspring, was going to bless all the families of the earth. Now we know that's Jesus, so we'll put that right over there. But you read all the way through Genesis, and God makes that same promise to Abraham. He makes it to Isaac. He makes it to Jacob. And when you finish Genesis, God's people are not in that promised land. They're in Egypt. Long way away from that promised land. And while they're in Egypt, a Pharaoh comes to power that's a cruel, evil man. He sees how fast Israel is growing, these children of God are growing, these Hebrew people, and he says, I got to fix this. So he enslaves them, makes them work in hard, arduous kind of work, and then he starts killing their babies. Horrible, horrible. And a traumatic time for them, obviously. Of course, the people of God begin to cry out. They've been there almost 400 years, and they cry out, God, remember, you promised Abraham, you promised Isaac, you promised Jacob, we'd have a promised land. Help us. Well, baby Moses was born. You remember the story, and I'll speed it up, but Moses was born. Pharaoh's daughter finds him in the basket. She takes him home. Lots of good stuff here, but we just got to hit the highlights. Moses grows up in Pharaoh's house, educated, and I'm not making any of this up. I'm not taking any license. He was educated in all the ways of the Egyptians, and at 40 years old, he was a prince of Egypt, mighty in word and deed. He was some kind of man, some kind of leader, had lots of influence, lots of power. And it was at 40 years old that the faith he had learned, I suspect from his mom and his dad, by faith he chose. Hebrews 11 says it. By faith he chose to be counted among God's people, to suffer with them instead of enjoying the pleasures of sin for a season. Instead of enjoying the pleasures that you'd have as a prince of Egypt, he decided to become a slave. He thought at that time, says, he supposed that the people knew that God had sent him. Here's this 40-year-old mighty man in word and deed. Surely Israel recognizes that I'm the guy that God sent to lead them back to the promised land. He tries. And they say, no way, Moses. They're not going to follow him at all. He runs off. He runs away for 40 years. Now, he meets a fellow named Jethro, marries one of his daughters, watches that man's sheep, and for 40 years, apparently, he believes that he's failed in what his purpose was. He's 80 years old, and he's keeping his father-in-law's sheep, raising his family. And then one day he sees the burning bush, remember? God tells him, go back. Moses starts stuttering. I'm not able. God said, don't worry about that. I'll do it for you. And they go back. He goes back with Aaron. They stand in front of Pharaoh. Let my people go. Pharaoh says, who is this God that I should listen to him? Moses and God, with God, did the 10 plagues. And Pharaoh said, that's it. Get those people out of here. Loaded them down with all the riches of Egypt. And they run out of Egypt, headed toward the promised land. Well, you know what happened. They get to the Red Sea. Pharaoh changes his mind. He starts after them. They start panicking, and they do what people tend to do when they panic. Whine. Stupid Moses, let us out here to die. Why'd you lead us out here, Moses? I wish I'd have stayed. Yeah, there you go. I wish I'd have stayed back there in Egypt. I don't know why we had to make this trip of just going to. And Moses stands up with the rod and says, stand still, see the salvation of Jehovah. And the wind started blowing, blew all night long, blew a highway right through the center of the Red Sea. They walked through on dry ground. Pharaoh tried to follow. God said, nope, closed the door, drowned all that army. And the people of God finally are free. They are free. They're free from bondage, and they are headed to the promised land. God takes them by way of the Red Sea, takes them to Mount Sinai. Takes them to Mount Sinai. It's on fire. It's shaken with an earthquake, clouds and fire and all the presence of God. Moses goes up on the mountain, gets tablets of stone, 2 tablets of stone, written with the finger of God on both sides. The 10 Commandments. While Moses is up there, the folks down below act a fool. They just lose their mind, and they just go to doing all kinds of stuff, breaking all those commandments. Moses comes down the mountain angry and brokenhearted, and he breaks those commandments. And he grinds up that idol they made and makes them drink it, and then God punishes lots of them. And then God calls Moses back to the top of the mountain. Gives him 2 more tablets, gives him those same 10 commandments. And the next 40 years, Moses will lead these people in the wilderness. Now, yes, there's details there. We're not going to have time to talk about. You know why? Real quick, can anybody tell me why they had to spend another 40 years? Why couldn't they just go straight from Mount Sinai to the Promised Land? Give me the word that's the key word. If I say it, you're going to say, well, yeah, duh. I'll give you one more, 30 seconds. No, 10 seconds. 10, 9. That's good. All those are right answers. All those are right answers. I can't believe y'all didn't say he sent in the spies. They sent 12 spies into the land. Remember, they got to the southern border of the Promised Land. And Moses said, okay, before we go in, we got to know the lay of the land. We want to know where we're going to attack first. And so he sent 12 spies in, and they came back. 10 of them went, I don't think we can do that. We're too big. They're too big. We're too small. We're like grasshoppers in their sight. And 2 fellas, Joshua and Caleb, said, bring it on. Bring it on. Had they seen what God had done? Can God handle a Pharaoh? Can God part a Red Sea? Can he rain bread out of heaven and pour water out of a rock? Yeah, they had seen that, and they knew. Well, because the people listened to the 10 instead of the 2, God said, okay, for every day the spies were in the land, you're going to spend a year walking around in the wilderness to learn your lesson. Talking about grounding. He grounded them, right? 40. They were in 40 days, so he made them walk 40 years. And the purpose of that was to continue to teach them, but also continue to discipline, but also continue to punish them. And in 40 years' time, everybody from 20 years old and upward died off, except for 2 fellas, Joshua and Caleb. So now in Deuteronomy, this old man, he's 120 years old. 120 years old, God tells him it's time. It's time to head to the Promised Land. days away, weeks away. I'll let you figure all that out. But they are on the edge of receiving the promised land. All of those unbelieving folks, all of those folks that have rebelled against God, they have learned their lesson, we hope. They've been disciplined, we hope, and many of them have died. And he tells them one last time, and that's what Deuteronomy means. It's the second time. It's his last time. This is Moses' last chance to teach them the law. And over again, he'll say, remember when we did this? Remember when you did that? Remember how God, and he's about to tell them how to build their nation. Did you know, when it comes to building a nation, I mean, they're going to go into a land and they're going to farm land that they haven't purchased. They're going to live in houses that they haven't built. They're going to fill cities that they had nothing to do with, the roads or the plots or the plans, nothing. So what do they got to have? They got to have, let's give me 30 seconds of it if we can. What kind of things would we have? Think logically, think practically. You move into a new place, you move into a new country. You're a pioneer, and you walk into a place that you're going to start a little old town, you're going to start a state, you're going to become a nation. What kind of things have to be determined? What kind of things have to be planned? What kind of things have to be decided? Oh, I heard a bunch. You got to have somebody to answer to. You got to have somebody that says, "Oh, no, okay," makes decisions. And Deuteronomy is going to teach them about judges and about kings and about priests. Keep going. What do you got to have, real quick?
Place to live.
You got to have some kind of rule about who gets what property, and how you determine who gets that property, and how are you going to remember who got that property, and when somebody dies, how does that property get passed on? What else? I'm sorry? You got to deal with something about just the supply chain. How are you going to feed these folks? How are you going to get food to all these people? Keep going. How about the laws? How about criminal law? What happens if somebody kills somebody? What happens if somebody commits a... What happens if somebody steals? They're going to be given laws that cover criminals, but also civil law. What else? How about defense? How about military? In Deuteronomy, you're going to read how they were being taught by Moses to build their nation. He's going to talk about their hygiene. He's going to talk about medical issues. How do you deal? You've got that many people. Folks, we're talking about 1 million or so people. 1 million or so people are they're going to pour across the Jordan River, and they're going to scatter out around that land, and they're going to have to deal with lots of different things. All of that. Moses is going to teach them that in Deuteronomy. Because what have they been doing every day? Following that cloud. And when the cloud stopped, tabernacle up, cloud moves, tabernacle down. Start moving. Now he's going to choose a place, and that place is going to become the place where they bring their gifts, where they bring their males. The men show up 3 times a year. Okay, all of that. And so much more. And it's real practical. Real quick, just a tiny note. If you're interested in this kind of stuff, if you're interested in history and that kind of stuff, one of the times you read through Deuteronomy, just one of the times you read through Deuteronomy, read it with what the founding fathers wrote and what they decided when they decided to become a nation. And watch how what they chose reflects what they read in Deuteronomy. Just for fun. If you like that kind of stuff, try that. My point is this, and it's the reason I want us to study this. We have been blessed to live in a great nation. Freedoms that no other place on earth has. We have been blessed, and God has. We've sung it, we've prayed it, God bless America, and He has done that. So right now, we're not talking about building anything. But in this discussion in Deuteronomy, it's not just how do you build a nation. He says, how do you bless a nation? It'll also let you know how you curse a nation. But if you and I are interested, if we are serious about blessing a nation, I'm going to say this too often, I'm afraid, because it's just so much on my head. We tend to think in terms of politics. We tend to think in terms of votes, and I'm not against any of that. But if you want to take a serious look at blessing this country, it has not so much to do with politics or votes. It has to do with character. It has to do with life choices. And if you want to bless America, you do what will bless your family. You do what will bless your neighbors. You do what will bless your schools. You do what will bless your churches. You do what will bless your state. You start not up there, but you start right here. And in the book of Deuteronomy, he's going to teach them that. And we're going to go over it and over it and over it for the next few weeks if God gives us the next few weeks. So where would you start? Real quick. Most important rule. Most important rule that you think they're going to be taught. Who lives where? Most important. What's that? Yes. Authority. If you were going to start, where would you start?
Love the Lord your God with all your heart.
Yes. The first and great commandment. Did you know that's what he's going to, in the first 3 chapters, of Deuteronomy, you're going to see it, okay? Moses is going to tell them, remember when you did this? And don't be worried about that. He's going to talk about their past and he's going to talk about their future, but what he's going to focus on is, and I didn't turn my Bible, sorry. I told y'all to turn and I didn't. Okay. Now I wish we had time. I'd love to do this with you. And if you will do it, and maybe do it with your family, there will be a blessing. I promise you will discover some things, you'll hear some things, you'll receive some things that you can't get from some guy teaching it. But in Deuteronomy chapter 1, look in verses 8, 9, and 10. 8, 9, and 10. I have given you this land. Go in and take possession of the land that the Lord swore he would give to your fathers, to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and to their descendants after them. And at that time I said to you, you are too heavy a burden for me to carry alone. The Lord your God has increased your numbers so that today you are as many as the stars in the sky. So did God keep his promise? That teaches me the Lord your God is faithful. He keeps his promises. He cannot lie. God keeps his promises. You want to start blessing this nation? You hold on to that thought first. You want to bless your family? You hold on to that thought first. When God says it, that settles it. When God says it, that settles it. And if he tells you don't, then you don't. And if he tells you to do, you do. Because his word is faithful. He will always keep his promises. He will always back his commands. Now, the people that have been here a while, you're going to, probably a t-shirt somewhere that says this. You and I will not always feel like he is faithful. Because we will have questions sometimes. Well, I thought he said, and I've heard those questions, and I've asked those questions. Well, I don't understand. Why did he do that? And why did he do that? And why doesn't he do that? And why doesn't he do that? Yes, I got you. But whether I can feel it, whether I'm even anywhere close to being able to explain it, and never until glory be able to prove it, I can believe it. I can believe that God is faithful. And so that determines what I do on a day in my home, at my job, in my church, in my voting booth, in my entertainment. I choose to believe God is faithful. Now, in that, with that being said, I'm going to let you peek at a couple of these places. Look at verse 21 and look at verse 29. 21 and 29. You find it? I'll read it into the record. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged. Verse 29. Do not be terrified. Do not be afraid of them. Keep reading. The Lord your God is going before you, will fight for you, just as He did in Egypt before your very eyes. Point is what? If my God is faithful, do not be afraid of what's coming. And I love you. But I listen to our conversations sometimes, what we hear on the TV or what we hear on the cable news or what we hear on the talk radio, what we hear, and we start getting anxious. Oh, there's reason to be concerned. There's reason for us to get serious. But fear does not help us bless this nation. We stand firm and believe and live and share that our God is, say it one more time. You can trust Him. He will not lie. He cannot lie. All right, now, chapter 2. And there's good stuff all the way through there. I just don't want to wear you out. But look at 2:7. 2:7. Real quick, before you read 2:7, I need to make sure, we've already rehearsed it a little bit, but see if you can give me a little bit more. Name, let's take 3. 3 strikes you out kind of deal. Tell me 3 things that Israel did, and I've already given you the golden calf at Mount Sinai, so you can't use that one. You can't use that one. Give me 3 things that these people did. These people who had been rescued out of Egypt by God. These people who had crossed the Red Sea on dry ground. These people who were called by God, my chosen people, my holy priesthood, my holy nation, my royal priesthood. Those people, 3 things after the golden calf, 3 things they did that would have made you go, that's it, I'm done. Oh. Not only did they complain about the food, I'm hungry, I wish I could go back and eat out of the flesh pots. And I don't know why you'd want to eat out of a flesh pot. It doesn't make any sense to me, but I've complained about weirder things than that. And God gave them bread out of heaven. But the one that catches my attention is the one that says, we are tired of this miserable bread. Miracle bread? Bread from heaven kind of bread? And I'm not making it up. You read it, Book of Numbers. We pound it, we grind it, we put a little bit of cayenne pepper in it. I mean, we do everything with cayenne may not be in the Hebrew, but you know what I mean, right? They were trying to get it all. And nobody in this room has ever struggled with complaining. So it's hard for us to imagine, right? So they did that. That's when God flew in the quail and taught them a lesson. Give me another one. Oh, remember those guys? That said Moses just getting too big for his britches. God doesn't speak to him only. And this sounds so familiar. Human nature has not changed from the beginning. Well, Moses, he doesn't talk to Moses alone. Maybe he talks to me too. And I think we ought to tell you what. While Moses is out of town, up on the mountain. While Moses is on that mountain, what we'll do is we'll just get us together and we'll pick us a leader. Can anybody name anybody that was in that group? Korah and a guy named Dathan. And I believe a guy named Abiram. I can't remember, but I'll let you deal with that. But what happened? Moses came down and said, y'all are doing what? Okay, we'll let the Lord choose. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. If you want to live, you better come with me. And what happened? The earth opened and swallowed them up. Give me one more, and I can't tell the story. I don't have time. Give me one more. Give me one more thing they did. After the golden calf. Well, they complained about water, but they did that both times, so. And I just want to be mean to Leland, so no, that's not going to count. All right, keep going. Give me one more. Give me one more. Oh, yeah. They were fussing about something, and God said, what's this? Poisonous snake started biting them, and immediately what they do? They turned back to the Lord. Help us. So Moses put up that bronze snake. I love the fact that Jesus later said, as Moses lifted up the serpent in the wilderness, so shall the Son of Man be lifted up. All right, all of that was to say, was there plenty of reasons for God to say, I'm done with these people? Did God ever say, Moses, back up. I'm going to leave them a smoking hole in the ground, and I'm going to make you a great nation, right? And yet, look what he does. We're in Deuteronomy chapter 2, verse 7. In spite of the golden calf, in spite of all the murmuring, in spite of all the whining, in spite of all the blasphemy, about all the division, what did the Lord your God has blessed you in all the work of your hands. He has watched over your journey through this vast desert. These 40 years the Lord your God has been with you, and you have not lacked anything. What does that tell you about our God? The Lord our God, say it? I saw it, man, merciful. Merciful. Now, what's built into the word mercy? What's built into the word mercy? What's implied in it? We don't deserve it. We need it. We do. Yeah, he cares about it. All those are right. You just shove them all in the same word, but we don't deserve it. So God's kindness toward them has nothing to do with them. It has to do with Him. Now, are there going to be times that I'm not going to feel like God is merciful? Are there going to be times when I'm going through a difficult time, when the sun is too hot and the enemy's too big and the trouble's too much? Is it possible for me to lose sight of the fact that God is merciful? In fact, tell me we don't do this. Tell me we don't struggle with this. When things are going really bad, really hard, really troubled, and we go to thinking in terms of, what did I do? Why didn't God do this for me? Why didn't, I thought He promised. And all of our excuses and all of our questions, the truth is, He is merciful. I may not always feel it, may not always be able to explain it, may not ever be able to prove it, but I can believe it. Now, go back to our point. They're going to build a nation. We're trying to bless a nation. And while there's instructions that they're going to need to build the nation, and Moses is going to give us even some instructions to bless this nation, where does he start? He starts by introducing them to the God that created them, the God that saved them, the God that delivered them. He is introducing them to God. Do you think maybe if we want to turn things around in this nation, if you think maybe we want to turn things around in this town, we want to turn things around in this church or in our homes, where do we start? We go right back here. Our God is faithful. The Lord our God is faithful. The Lord our God is merciful. Last one, I got to hush. Oh, just for fun. Just for fun, you got to read chapter 2. Just for fun, you got to read chapter 2. And as he teaches them, as I was merciful to you, I want you to be merciful to some others. They're going to walk through the land of Esau, one of their brothers. They're going to walk through the land of the Moabites, one of their cousins. They're going to walk through the land of the Ammonites, one of their cousins, the Ammonites. And he said, you're going to scare them. You're going to, because they're looking at you and thinking, look at all these people and look how powerful God is with them. And he said, I don't want you to touch a bit of their land. You don't take any of their land. And when they give you food or water, you pay for it. He's being merciful to those nations around them because these nations didn't attack them. So sometimes you be merciful. God is good. All right, now, chapter 2, verse 24. We're not going to read till we get to 3. Go to chapter 3 and look at verse 21. 21 and 22. And I know you got to get tired of hearing me say the same thing. But read this. Please read this. Read this to yourself. Read it with your family. And just listen to what he keeps coming back to. All these things that happened, all these things that are going to happen, he keeps coming back to the same thing. Verse 21, chapter 3, Deuteronomy 3, verse 21. At that time I commanded Joshua, you have seen with your own eyes all that the Lord your God has done to these kings. The Lord will do the same to all the kingdoms over there where you're going. Do not be afraid of them. The Lord your God himself will fight for you. Now, had we watched what he did with those 2 kings and added that to the list, we watched what he did in Egypt. We watched what he did at the Red Sea. We watched what he did with the rock and the water. We watched what he did with the bread from heaven. We watched what he did. What would we conclude? That the Lord our God is what? Powerful. I may not always feel like he is. I may have some questions about why doesn't he show up here, and I hate that when I hear somebody say, well, I don't know why God didn't show up. Be careful, be careful, be careful. God showed up. God doesn't have to show up. It's in him we live, move, and have our being, right? He is here, and he is powerful. I may not always feel it. I may not always be able to explain it. I may never even be able to prove it, but I can believe it. So, I'm saying, I believe, that if we want to bless this nation, if we're serious, and there's lots of things we could talk about, if we want to turn this nation back toward God, if we want to stop the corruption that takes place in education, entertainment, politics, if we want to turn this nation back to God, here's where it starts. Us knowing, following, loving, obeying, worshiping that God. That's where it starts. And I can wag my finger at people, or I can shake my fist all I want. That's not going to change a thing. I can go to coffee with the guys and talk it to death. You know where it starts? Let's say it. Where does it start? And I love the way we learned it here. It's not us. It starts with me. And then if you and me agree, and you and me and thee agree, then it begins to work like God intended it to work. I may not always feel it. Last time you'll hear this maybe today. I may not always be able to feel it. I may not ever be able to explain it. And I might not until glory be able to prove it, but I can believe it. And if I want to bless this nation, then this is the God I love. This is the God I follow. This is the God I obey. This is the God I worship. This God, the one and only God, the living and true God. Simple little song. Simple. Leland and those guys.